Alright, today in the sartorial kitchen, I'm kicking things off with a flavorful yet just hot enough green chicken curry. I'm serving that up with a flavorful coconut rice, and last but not least, pork steam buns. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me?
Welcome back, everybody. Yes, we're going Thai today. I'm starting with some pork buns. This is high-low cooking. So I'm using canned pork here. And I just want to drain all the liquid out of that. So I like this, it's already cooked. So we don't have to pre-cook it before assembling our buns. We just add our flavors and mix it up, and we are good to go. Got all my seasonings lined up here because I want this to have lots of flavor. So we're starting with some soy sauce. About 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to add some salt. That's going to help keep these nice and moist. I've also got some oyster sauce. You can use hoisin sauce or whatever you like. Just a teaspoon of that. And then about ½ teaspoon of rice vinegar and cooking wine. Just to make sure these are nice and juicy and moist. Sesame oil, about 1/4 teaspoon. This is really strong. You don't want to only smell the you don't want to only taste the sesame, so I use just a little. And for some heat, some sriracha. If you can find Szechuan peppercorns, that's more traditional. But just to give this a little heat, just a few dashes of that. And then of course some salt and pepper. Especially with this being canned pork, it's kind of bland, so we want to make sure we give this lots of good flavor. And then just come in here with my hands. And we're just going to mix this all together. So I want to make sure every bite has the same flavors in it. Alright, and keeping with the theme of our high-low cooking, I'm using canned biscuits for the bun dough. Now you can make your own dough if you like, but this is going to be a lot easier and a lot faster. So just pop that tube open. And then I'm going to roll these out a little bit. I've got my rolling pin. I want to thin these out so I make sure they cook through. Since the pork's already cooked, these don't need to cook as long. And I just roll them out to a nice kind of wide circle. Just kind of set that aside and move on to the next one here. Alright, so I've got my little ice cream scoop here. I'm using that just so I make sure we get roughly the same amount of meat in each one. About a teaspoon, teaspoon and a half. Just plop it right down in the middle. Okay, so now we're just going to come in here and close these up. I just come in at the sides and then the tops and just kind of pinch everything together. And kind of leave it like this if you want, or if you want to get fancy and come in here and do the pleating like you normally see on pork buns. Again, we're home cooks, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And I kind of like it this way because then you can tell that it's homemade. You just want to make sure that it is sealed so our filling doesn't pop out on us. And then we move on to the next one. One. Beautiful. One last thing. I just want to brush these with a little egg wash just to give them some nice color. We don't want beige buns. Beautiful. And then I'm going to put a little sesame seed on top just to give some nice presentation, a nice little textural component. And then these are going to go in my fridge to set up while we begin our green chicken curry. Alright guys, we are back. I'm getting ready to start my green chicken curry. I've got some chicken here that I marinated. been marinating for a couple hours. I'm going to show you exactly how I made this marinade.
First, I butterflied 4 chicken breasts, added them to a Ziploc bag, and flavored them with 4 tablespoons of Thai green curry paste, but you can use any curry paste you like. Then it's 2 tablespoons of fresh lime juice, about a 1/4 cup of olive oil, a teaspoon of salt and pepper, and give it all a little zhuzh until all the flavors come together. Then store in the fridge for up to 2 hours.
I'm just going to come in here with my tongs and set this right down in my pot. Beautiful. And make some room here for our last guy. Put that on a medium heat. So I just want to get some nice color on the chicken and get it almost cooked through. And that's going to help develop the base of our stew. While that cooks, I'm going to prep some veggies. I've got an onion here, and I just cut off one end and then the other, and just peel off that outer layer. And I want slices, so I'm just going to come down with my knife. Okay, and that is just 1 large onion or Spanish onion. We also need some bell pepper. I already chopped up my yellow and my red, or my red and my orange. I'm going to chop up the yellow here. And again, I want strips, so just come like that and take the core out. And then we cut off the other end. And save the ends and the tops as a snack for the chef. And then we'll just come in here and slice it through. I want them about the same size as the onion, so it all cooks the same. Okay, that is our onion and pepper. And I think it's time to flip our chicken. Oh yeah, it looks so good. Guys, I wish you were here with me, smelling all these wonderful flavors. So that cooked chicken has cooked about 4 minutes. On this side, we're going to cook it for another 4 minutes on the other side. Then I'm going to take it out and let it rest, and we'll cut it up and start developing our broth. All right, beautiful. I'm going to turn this down just slightly, and I'm going to pull this chicken out. It's around 130, 135. I want it slightly under because I don't want it to get overcooked and dry out. It's going to continue to cook in our broth. So I'm just going to set it aside real quick. And look at our skillet. We've got all these lovely flavors going on here. We're about to deglaze that with our onions and our peppers. So I throw all the onions in. And all my peppers. I'm gonna come in here with some salt. This is sweating the vegetables. So the salt, some little pepper here for flavor. It's going to draw all of the natural moisture out of these vegetables, and they're going to release all their juices, and it's going to pull up all this brown flavoring from the chicken, and it's just going to really help us develop a nice layer of flavor for our broth. I'm also going to come in here with a couple tablespoons of our cooking wine. And between that and the onions, we're going to get all those lovely bits up from the bottom of the pan. And we're just going to have a really flavorful curry. I'm going to start slicing our chicken so we've got it to add in once I get the broth going. And I'm just coming in here on the diagonal and slicing down through this chicken. Some of the outer pieces are already kind of cooked through, but you'll notice when you get into the exterior, there's just a slight bit of pink left, which is exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so our onions and peppers have sweated down nicely. They're nice and tender. They develop all that flavor. I've also been chopping up some garlic and some ginger. We're going to go in with that next, and I want to mince it, so I've got my little press out here. You could also use a rasp or a zester or something like that. And I'm just going to come in here and press all that garlic, because I don't want big garlic pieces. And then just kind of come in there. Or you can even take your knife and then slide all that off of there. Okay, so that's about 2 cloves of garlic, give or take. They're kind of small cloves out of the garden. And always check the inside of this, because you'll have more to get out. Now I'm adding this, of course, last, since we're mincing it especially, because it does not take nearly as long to cook, and I don't want it to burn. And stir that in. And then I'm going to rasp the ginger here with my zester. And this is 2 little roots of ginger. Part of it I've cut in half. It's going to go in our rice. I'm just going to use it as an aromatic while the rice cooks. And then the rest we're going to mince here into our broth. So I want this broth to have lots of flavor. Beautiful. And then we just tap all that right in. And give this a big stir. I want to make sure that garlic and the ginger gets to saute a little bit. About a minute, minute and a half tops. Again, we don't want it to burn. Okay, now we're going to come in here with the rest of our curry paste. So I used about half the container earlier to marinate the chicken. I'm using the other half now. So it's about another 3 tablespoons or so. And waste not, want not. Fill this up just slightly with a little water. And stick the lid back on. And give it a little shake. And get the rest of that out of there. Beautiful. We don't want to lose any of that flavor. And I'm going to stir that around. Let the curry paste kind of toast a little, just to really develop those flavors. Oh yeah, look at that. Does that not look delicious? Now we could serve that as an accoutrement to the chicken with some rice, but we're going to be turning it into a lovely sort of stew. And to do that, we're going to be adding some chicken broth here. Alright, 2 containers. Perfect. Just kind of stir that around so everything's incorporated. And then we add in our aromatics. So I'm using a strainer for this. It makes it easier so I can pull everything out later. The 2 live halves from earlier, from marinating the chicken. I've got another lime here. Just give that a little squeeze and drop it right in, because I want that zest to get into our broth. And then I've got some Thai basil and a little cilantro. And we're just going to let that cook down for a while, and we'll come back to it in a minute. But now we're going to work on our rice. Okay, I've got that broth going. Just one more thing I want to add. These are some dried Thai chilies. If you can't find those, any kind of dried chilies you can find. And we're just throwing this in the broth just to give it some extra flavor. And I did cut these open and pushed all the seeds out, because the seeds are where the heat really is. And the Thai chilies, they're a medium to hot pepper, so somewhere around 6-7 on the spice scale. Now we're going to get our rice started. Yes, I got a new rice cooker, courtesy of my aunt. And I'm going to do about 1.5 cups, I think. Maybe a little less. We're making coconut rice. I'm using coconut milk here as my liquid for the rice. And I just come in here with the rice spatula. And really you just need enough liquid to barely cover the rice. And I think I've got enough liquid here to go ahead and add just a teensy bit more rice. I'm also throwing in my ginger piece from earlier. just to give it lots of flavor. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw in some salt there, about a teaspoon. I want this to have lots of flavor. And a little bit of pepper here, about a half teaspoon. Stir that around. We'll pull that ginger piece out when the rice is fluffed and cooked. And then I also have some more cilantro and lime that's gonna go in it, just make it nice and flavorful. Now we're multitasking here. So I've got my steamer basket, and I've got my buns from earlier, and I'm just gonna set these right in here. So I set these back in the fridge so they could set up. And I also wanted that egg wash mixture to kind of congeal on the biscuits so they don't pour down into our rice and make it icky. And there should be just enough room to fit all 8 of these in here. That's why I only made 8. If you notice, I probably had a lot of filling left, but I think I'll do a stir fry with the leftover rice and that pork. That should be good. So we're gonna turn this on to cook, and we're gonna cover it with the lid. The rice is gonna take about 15 to 20 minutes, but that steam is gonna rise up through the rice, and it's gonna hit our buns, and it's gonna cook them as well. So traditionally, you would cook buns on like a bamboo basket, and you would make a double boiler out of your wok. I don't have a bamboo basket, so we are multitasking. We're doing a little kitchen MacGyvery. So there we are, and I will come check back with you guys. Okay, our broth is cooking down nicely. Our rice and our buns are doing their thing. We're gonna work on a dipping sauce for the pork buns. So I'm gonna start with a couple tablespoons of honey. This is just orange blossom honey. You can use whatever honey you like. That's just gonna give us a little sweetness. And we're gonna come in here, about a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. A tinge of sesame oil, very strong. Maybe about a 1/4 teaspoon. Little rice vinegar, about a teaspoon or so. My jarred garlic. I'm finishing this baby up. Now I'm using the jarred garlic as opposed to the garlic I minced earlier because I want the oils that this garlic's preserved in as part of my sauce. And it's time for a new bottle, new jar. And then also some more sesame seed, just to really accentuate that sesame flavor. And then we're gonna come in here and give this a little stir, just to incorporate the honey, break it down into all these other flavors here. Also gonna do just a pinch of salt and about a 1/2 pinch of pepper. And I would say this looks pretty good, but I won't know until I give it a little taste. Nice and sweet, salty, acidic. And you get just that little hint of the sesame oil. That's going to be good. I'm going to set that aside, and I think we're about ready to finish our curry. Okay. Woo, yes. Oh, that looks so good, guys. So you can see our herbs and our limes have cooked down beautifully. So we will say goodbye to those. And I'm going to turn this down to low. And I've got just a few things here. Some bamboo shoots. And these are already cooked through. So I'm just going to throw them in. And give that a little stir. I just want them to kind of come to temp and just kind of soften a little bit. And then I'm going to also add our chicken back in, which I've just had resting on this cutting board. So I'm going to finish. It'll just get nice and hot and juicy and reintroduce those flavors to the broth. Guys, this is smelling really good. And last but not least, I've got some coconut milk here. So the coconut milk is going to quell some of the heat for us. And it's also going to give our broth a lovely color here. And then this is just going to go down to very low. And just let that come together while our rice and our buns finish cooking. Oh yeah, that looks really good, guys. One last thing. Well, I've still got this somewhat boiling. So I'm going to thicken up this broth some. So I've got a cornstarch mixture here. which is called a slurry, and it is a traditional way of thickening up soups and stews and sauces and broths in Asian cooking. So I know normally I would do my butter and flour method, but this is equally effective. And we will just let that go for a little longer until it gets nice and thickened for us, just a little. Now let's check on this baby here. Oh yeah, look at that. Our buns have plumped up nicely. I'm gonna come in here with a knife just to see that they're cooked through. And I think they are. So this went for about 20 minutes. And then I turned it back on for like another 10, just to make sure these buns were cooked through. Set that aside. And our rice, yeah, nice and fluffy. Let's pull this guy out. Thanks for coming. And we're gonna start flavoring our rice now. So I've got my zest here. This lime, we're just gonna, about half the zest of this lime, just enough that you know it's there, just to give it a nice fragrance and cut through the kind of the fat of the coconut milk. Okay, I think that's good. We always check the back for stragglers. And then, of course, the rest of our cilantro, about a couple tablespoons or so, and just fluff that in. You can use the paddle or you can use a fork. And I just want to just stir that in. The cilantro and the lime just become immediately fragrant. Oh, I love it. Okay, I would say that we are ready to plate up. All right, I'm going to turn this off. Got rid of our stir spoon. We're going to switch to a ladle. And I like to serve it half and half. Or you can do like a gumbo style, put your rice in the middle and pour it over top. But I think I'm going to take some of our rice here and just kind of spread it out here on the side. Just like that. And then take some of the curry here and ladle it in. So I want to make sure I get the chicken and the veggies, but then I also want to get some of that broth. Beautiful. And for our steamed buns, I moved our sauce here to another bowl. And I thought for presentation, I've got a bigger bowl here. And then we'll just carefully pry our buns out of here and just kind of set them around the bowl, just like that. Oh yeah, these look so good, guys. And I may not be able to fit them all. We'll just do like 4. That's a good appetizer portion. And voila. All right, I think I'm gonna start with the steamed buns here. And we'll just kind of come in here in our sauce, give it a little dip. I love how that sauce kind of clings to the bun. So good. Again, that sauce, beautiful, nice and sweet, acidic, salty. So the biscuits actually work. They're tender, you get a little bit of chew, just a little bit of color from doing that egg wash on there, and I love how like the sesame seeds get a little toasted. And the pork. Considering it's canned pork, it's still nice and moist, inside juicy. Just enough of those wonderful flavors we threw in there, the oyster sauce, the soy, the sesame. So good. Oh my gosh, so good. And last, our curry with the rice. I always like to garnish with a little lime. People can squeeze on there if they want. And you can always save some of that cilantro to garnish on top. But I think this has plenty in it as is. So first I just want to come in here and get some of this delicious broth on its own and just really see what we're working with here. Ooh, yes. Okay. Automatically I'm getting the ginger, I'm getting the garlic. That curry flavor that we developed twice over. There's just a little bit of after heat from those chilies. Of course, the curry has some heat in it as well. Now let's get the chicken here and some of that rice.
Yeah. See, doing it this way, the chicken stays nice and moist. You're not worried about it being dry or chewy. Nothing worse than dry chicken. It's so chewy. It's just nice and flavorful. And this rice. Guys. I love a good coconut rice. It's just nice and creamy. You get a little bit of that crispy rice from the bottom of the barrel. The lime and the cilantro just kind of give it a nice, fresh kind of floral quality. Oh, guys. Not to toot my own horn, but I think I really outdid myself. I'm going to finish up here. Thank you guys for joining me as always. Like and subscribe. Hit me up in the comment section. And until next time, bon appetit.